Some say it was the greatest era in the history of America's greatest race. At Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the engines were out front. The drivers sat out in the open, and winning the 500 was the biggest deal in racing. Well, this week, front-engine cars are back at the Brickyard, and the spirit of 500's past permeates Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Silver Crown cars kick off a festival of speed in America's raciest town, and if tonight is anything like last year, hey, hang on. They have big hearts and a whole lot of horsepower. Brave souls and the will to win. Any night of the week, they are still the local heroes. And they live for the sound of thunder. On a hot and humid summer night in Indiana, ladies and gentlemen, we come to Indianapolis Raceway Park for the True Value Silver Crown cars of the United States Auto Club, the Yellow Cab 100, and we open tonight with a pop quiz. What night of the week are you watching Thunder? If your answer is Wednesday, that means you're catching us live on ESPN2, a Wednesday night live ESPN2 special with the Silver Crown cars, which have just pulled away. If your answer is Thursday, then you're catching our tape-delayed special, kicking off a doubleheader over on the mothership, ESPN. A doubleheader if you're watching on Thursday night, because we will be followed immediately by live coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck Series. It's all part of a monster racing week here in Indianapolis. Friday, we go to the Busch Grand National Division of NASCAR. Throughout the week, practice and qualifying the run-up to the Brickyard 400, and you've got it all right here on ESPN. It is terrific. It wraps up on Saturday, of course, with the big stock car race over at the 2.5-mile track. That's all the good news. There's one bit of bad news. We're in a bit of a hurry at the top of the show. It's a setback for their careers, but we will not see at the top of the show Gary Lee, our Thunder anchor, and Larry Rice, the three-time USAC national champion, who serves as our analyst. Instead, we're going to show you a race because the cars are on the track. They are the neatest division, in my mind, anywhere in USAC. They're basically 40-year-old Indy cars. They've got a qualifying race coming up. Let's go to the booth for the Gary and Larry Show.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everybody. These knuckleheads tuned in to see racing, and that's what we have, wall-to-wall racing in a special format this evening for the True Value Silver Crown cars. This, of course, is a K&K Insurance qualifier. Now, the format calls for the fastest 4 cars to start straight up in the feature. In qualifying, Jim Keeker, Tony Stewart, Mike Bliss, and Jack Hewitt were the 4 fastest. The rest have to go through one of 2 qualifiers. 10 will transfer on to our 60-lap main event. Here's your lineup. Eric Gordon and Gene Lee Gibson occupy row 1. In the second row, Johnny Parsons, you saw him win last week in a midget race here. He lines up alongside Dave Darwin. In the third row, it's David Steele out of Tampa, Florida, and Donnie Beechler, now residing in California. He won the last Silver Crown race at the Action Track in Terre Haute. In the fourth row, Dan Drynan, and on the outside, Kenny Irwin Jr. In the fifth row, Gary Heber and the youngster Jimmy Kite. In the sixth row, Jason McCord and Kevin Doty. In the seventh row, stock car veteran Steve Barnett making his debut in Silver Crown competition, and Chuck Leary. And then in row 8, Bill Bowie and Kerry Foss. Ninth row, Brad Marble, Kenneth the Nichols. And once again, there's a look at Barnett. Now keep in mind, he has won over 125 late model races, all on dirt. He did run a late model race. In fact, he won that one a couple of weeks ago on pavement, a very small track. But here, first time open wheel Silver Crown competition.
Well, this ought to be exciting, Gary. I mean, once these guys get out there, all of them, ran as hard as they could qualifying. They only took 4. The times were very, very close. They qualified in the 115 to 118 mile an hour range. And there was actually one qualifier, Jim Keeker, over 119 miles an hour. So very, very close qualifying. These guys, just because they're in this race, doesn't mean they were slow.
We have 4 6-cylinder cars, and those 4 qualified in the top 5 positions. Only Mike Bliss, who qualified 3rd fast, who's won this race the last 2 years, was in there with an 8-banger.
Yes, and the pace car has pulled off the track, but it looks like John Parsons and somebody up there battling for that second
Well, Parsons
row.
starts inside the second row. There's no doubt about where he starts. There's a look at the 67 car.
Yeah, it was David Steele.
Now David Steele lets him in there. 67, that is Donnie Beechler. Beechler, formerly from the Springfield, Illinois area, who moved to California to run full-time with the Zarunian team.
And then, of course, Kenny Irwin back there. He was one of the faster qualifiers starting back in this race. So, you know, he's going to have to get going here and get back up front, because this race, this first race will start on the inside of the feature row. The fastest 4 qualifiers, as you said, start up front. They will start inside positions in the feature according to the way they run this race. Exactly.
So the better starting position in the feature determined by a better finishing position in this race. One of 2 K&K Insurance qualifiers. Of course, the evening is called the Yellow Cab 100. It is the True Value Silver Crown cars. The second time we've had a chance to see these cars here on ESPN this season. Back in Richmond on June the 17th. Of course, a stirring finish when Jack Hewitt, I think, surprised a lot of people when he came from the back of the pack to win that one in a last lap shootout with Randy Tolsma. Had that race gone one more lap, I think Randy could have pulled it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. You see right there, car number 40. That's the Terre Haute First National Bank car driven by Brad Marvel. He broke 4 push rods in hot laps, did not get a single hot lap, went out and qualified, so therefore he has to start pretty far back. And right in front of him, Kerry Foss is another guy that doesn't run a whole lot of pavement that is going to be in this race.
And of course, for you that perhaps are joining us for the first time, throughout the evening we'll talk more about these Silver Crown cars and compare them to the sprint cars and the midgets that we also see here on the Thunder. But Wally Shearer is going to look them over, and I think we could get a start right now. The first of 2 20-lap qualifying races. The first 10 finishers will transfer to our 60-lap feature. Parsons quickly to the inside. I started inside the second row. He looked to the inside.
Gene Lee Gibson in the 70 car, that maroon number 70 car on the outside. That's a Ford-powered car, but Eric Gordon in the 10 car, the blue car, takes the lead going into the first corner.
Well, look at Dave Darland running in third right now in that blue 56. That's the Fox Mobile with the Phillips and Beast chassis. Galen Fox builds the engines, and right now he has been so surprising, pleasantly so this season. He won a race earlier in the year. Right now is third in the point standings.
And Galen Fox says that Sprinkle Power Products is the first sponsor he's had on the dirt car for a long, long time. He's really finally glad to have somebody that's driving really well, running up front, and they have a sponsored booth. So he's pretty happy with that.
Gene Lee Gibson rides in second position in that maroon 70. That is a Ford-powered Louis Center inner car. Back there in the third, once again, is Dave Darland. Johnny Parsons, the veteran who won the midget race last week. His 30th career USAC midget feature win. Right now he rides in 4th spot. 5th is Donnie Beechler.
Yes, Donnie Beechler, of course, won at Terre Haute most recently. He's the most recent winner in this division. Also, pretty much a dirt track specialist, though. He hasn't run all that much on pavement, although that doesn't mean he can't do it.
Of course, we've had different winners in every one of our events so far this year. 4 events and 4 different winners. Now, the last 2 years, this event has been won by Mike Bliss. One of the few times we'll see Mike in an open-wheel car this season. There's a battle for 6th through 10th.
That's Kenny Irwin down on the inside, trying to get around David Steele in the white car. Couldn't pull it off, had to fall back in line. David Steele hanging on. Real good in that quick load boat trailers car.
Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon
has straightaway advantage right now, but there's a good battle back in the field.
Gene Lee Gibson driving there for Louis Center, hanging on to second spot. Dave Darland trying to figure out how he can get by him. The first 10 cars all transfer, so they don't want to do anything silly. They want to make the race. And you must run the race, the 60-lap race, with the tires you qualify on. So these tires are fairly hard.
Once again, you're looking at Gene Lee Gibson, the maroon 70, and he is trailed by number 56 car. There you see the gap between first and second. The 56 car of Darland takes a look to the inside, going into 3. Can't make it stick down there. Tucks up behind him. Once again, you can see that gap between first and second. There is second, third, and fourth. Gene Lee Gibson, Dave Darland, Johnny Parsons, and Donnie Beechler, 2nd through 5th.
And right now, Gary Heber in the car number 66 is running in that 10th transfer spot, as we see Kenny Irwin making a little slide up there in front and moved up to about 7th spot, I think. 6th spot. And look at that gaggle of cars back there in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all right there together.
And there is the pass for 2nd position as Dave Darland goes to 2nd. That will drop. Oh, look at that battle for a position as Parsons dives down between two cars, goes to third, drops Gene Lee to fourth. Fifth now is David Steele in the white 88 car.
Look at Beechler. Beechler's got a real bad push. Look at the front end of that thing. Look at that left front tire, or right front tire smoking as he goes around the corner. Beechler's picked up a terrifically bad push. That's allowing Gary Heber in that 66 car to give him everything he wants. There he goes right on by him. He can't turn the race car.
All right, now once again, we're looking at a battle for transfer spot. I believe that drops Beechler back to 10th position. Only 10 transfer. Doty moves to the inside the yellow car, and he's going to battle for that transfer spot.
And look, the same problem with Gene Lee Gibson's a 70 car. He has a very, very bad push. A push is when the car does not want to turn. They've got the wheels turned left, and the car wants to go straight. Both of those guys have a very, very bad push condition. It's just allowing cars to go right around them coming off the corner.
Well, now, what would develop that push at this juncture? We're only halfway through this event.
Probably the left rear tire. These tires sometimes grow. The left rear tire grows too much, takes the stagger out of the car, and it makes it so it won't turn. Both of those cars now have fallen back pretty far on the racetrack.
Once again, only the top 10 will transfer.
Jimmy Kite now is in the 10th spot in that 38 car. So right now, Gene Lee Gibson and Donnie Beechler both are out of the transfer spots. Everybody else trying to get around them and move up into contention. That's Chuck Leary right now in that 30 car, getting a little sideways, trying to get around Gene Lee Gibson. Moves to the bottom.
He makes the move and makes the pass on the low side as Gene got very close to the outside wall coming off turn 2.
This car just will not turn for him. He and Donnie Beechler both having terrible trouble. I think Beechler's finally just said, heck with it. And there's our leader, Eric Gordon. He has a full straightaway on everybody else in this race. He has a full straightaway. There's second place. That's Dave Darland in the blue number 56 car, running in second, almost a full straightaway behind. John Parsons in third in the black and red number 37. And then David Steele, and then Kenny Irwin.
So right now your leader working on lap 15 of a 20-lap qualifier. The top 10 will transfer. They'll start in the inside row positions in our 60-lap main event. And there is Donnie Beechler. Again, he won the last outing at the action track in Terre Haute, but he'll be a spectator for the feature this evening.
And Brad Marble in that 40 car, we talked about him having trouble qualifying. He fell out very early in the race in that Terre Haute First National Bank car, too, and he's not going to get a run tonight.
Rick Gordon continues to lead. He has finished second in the Silver Crown Series in the past. In fact, 3 times he's been a sprint runner-up.
There's Kenneth Nichols in a white number 6 car. I think that's the oldest car out here. That's the A.J. Watson car. And right behind him is Kerry Foss in another one of the Terre Haute First National Bank cars.
Well, Irwin is up to 4th position in that 23 car, the Dave Calderwood car, the Wins entry. He started 8th. He's up to 4th, so that will improve his starting position for our 60-lap main event.
Yeah, he's got that 6-cylinder Chevrolet running pretty good. David Steele in the 88 car being challenged now by Danny Drynan. This Danny Drynan does not run a whole lot of these cars. He's basically been a midget guy, but he got in a very, very good race car, the Hoffman car tonight, and I think he's getting used to this car as he goes along. He's run it 2 or 3 times, but he really hasn't been as comfortable as he could be.
Back there to battle for a 7th position. Leader now at the back of the pack on lap 19. You see the white flag the next time by. Look, there's 3 wide in the corner.
Wow. That was a pretty brave move. Went on the outside of Gene Lee Gibson and Kerry Foss. Just went right on around.
That's bravery.
That is bravery, especially with the push that Gene Lee had. I think Gene Lee knew he was out there, got out of the front and just let it go. It's a good job on his part. But Eric Gordon just looked terrific. It's a wonder he was not one of the fastest qualifiers, as fast as he's been in this race.
Well, he smokes a tire coming off that final corner, and there is the checkered flag. Let's see who pick up that transfer spot back there. There's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
Kevin Doty and there he is 9th.
And 10th.
Jimmy Kite.
Jimmy Kite in the red and white number 38 car transfers. And doggone it,
Steve
our
Barnett.
stock car buddy from Franklin, Indiana, Steve Barnett, finished 1 spot behind what he needed to transfer and make the feature in his first ride in a Silver Crown car. So there is your winner, Eric Gordon, the first of 2 K&K qualifying races. We have 1 more 20-lapper, then of course a 60-lap main event. As we take a look at the top 5, Gordon, Darland, Parsons, Irwin, and Steele come back more live from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
ESPN Speed World coverage of the Thunder is brought to you by Quaker State, the intelligent oil for longer engine life. And by Suzuki. Your Suzuki motorcycle and ATV dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. And by the more than 1,000 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. All right, Eric Gordon makes the first heat win look easy. Told me a moment ago they're never easy. Dave Darland, the dirt guy, strong run to second. Parsons, Irwin, and Steele round out the top 5. We've seen a lot of Eric Gordon, talked a lot with Eric Gordon about his sprint car performances, but you jumped in this thing and really wailed tonight. Did you find something between qualifying and the heat race that you liked?
Well, I don't know. We've been changing a lot of things. There's a lot of little gremlins that we're chasing. I got a mechanic named Phil Schuler who works on this thing all the time, and he's an excellent mechanic. And Gary and Joyce Hill have been real patient. They're the car owners, ABC Cutting Contractors, Goodyear. Everybody's been patient. And this is a new car we've been playing with, and I like it. I think it's got a lot of potential, and I don't think we're anywhere near its potential yet. So we're going to change a few more things here and there and see if we can get it to go any quicker in the feature.
Still looking for that first top 10 of the year. You talk about patience, you talk about working in a new car. Tell me a little bit more about these things. We see the midgets and we see the sprints. We talk a lot about tire compounds. A 60-lap main event. What's the key to winning this thing? What do you have to do right to win this thing?
Well, we used to run 100-lappers here, and you had to have a lot of patience. You had to save your tires. 60-lap race, you can't be near as patient. You've got to go for it. 60 laps isn't that much longer than a regular sprint car show. So we've got to be close on chassis, and I've got to be close right off the bat. There's not going to be a whole lot of time to get yourself into a groove. There's a lot of cars here, a lot of excellent drivers. You know, you're talking about top 10. We were running away at the show at the fairgrounds, and we blew a motor. We've just had a lot of bad luck, and hopefully tonight we'll start turning it around.
You're on the right track so far. Congratulations on the heat race win. That is Eric Gordon, and he walked away with heat race number 1. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show the excitement that we saw here a year ago. Stevie Reeves joined Gary and Larry in the booth, and I want to go back to the tape of the next to last lap here a year ago.
We're going to see how much Mike Bliss has for luck tonight. He's already went through a little bit, but look at this. PJ's running in there.
Oh, he can't hold it. Oh, he's going to make it stick. Does he make it stick? Look at this, side by side off the corner, and Bliss hangs on.
Oh, my God.
Bliss hangs on the high side. He kept the momentum up. Boy, you can't blink there. You're going to lose.
I can't believe either one of them got away with that. I can't believe PJ.
Kenny Irwin's running third. He might win this thing if they take each other out.
It was exciting, and we're back to doing it. Whoa, who's that? Who's that? Rick Mears, Rusty Wallace, everybody who's anybody in the world of motorsports is out here. Wait, who's that? Yeah, this is terrific. This is exciting. We're going to take a break and come back with more. It's the Silver Crown Cars at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and we're glad you're here to be part of it on ESPN. Wednesday or Thursday, take your pick, Night Thunder.
Back live at Indianapolis Raceway Park. These 4 are locked into the feature. The 4 fastest qualifiers, Jimmy Keeker and Tony Stewart, both with V6s. The 8-banger of Mike Bliss. He's won the last 2 outings here in Silver Crown competition. And Jack Hewitt, another V6 Ford-powered entry. They're locked in. They'll start in the first 4 positions. Interesting shot off the right front corner of Lou Siccone's car. I like that shot.
That is pretty nice.
All right, here you are. Your top 8 qualifiers for this one have been inverted. George Snyder, the veteran, looking for his 112th start. The True Value Silver Crown competition will start outside or inside. Outside is Richard Griffin. The second row, Chuck Gurney and Davey Hamilton. In the third row, it's Jack Runyon and 2-time champion Jimmy Sills. Row 4, Andy Michner. And the 5th fast qualifier this evening, or 6th fast, that is, Randy Tolsma. In the 5th row, Rocky Hodges and Tice Carlson. Row 6, Ray Evans and Jimmy Brewer. The 7th row on the inside, Bentley Warren. Outside, Gary Irvin. In the 8th row, Ken Hamilton and Bob Ciccone. Row 9, Lou Ciccone and Brad Knopfsinger. So we have a father-son combination in this as we ride with Lou Ciccone right now. But Kenny Hamilton and Davey Hamilton out of Boise, Idaho.
Yes, sir. You don't think you see that very often. A lot of brothers, but not too many fathers and sons. As look at George Snyder. He can't get that lead as he run down in through turn 1.
Richard the gas man Griffin takes the lead, but here comes George to the inside into turn 3, but can't make it stick down there. And Chuck Gurney He was won 12 times in True Value Silver Crown competition. Now in third spot in the Petro Shopping Center's number 9.
Gurney in that Petros cars, I think this is only his first ride in that car. He's not been running that car very long. That's probably Hamilton drove, I think, in Richmond. So this is a brand new race car for Gurney. Snyder, of course, has been running that car for a long time. As we look from the end car, Saccone, there's some cars smoking up there in front of him.
That was the 64 car of Jimmy Brewer, smoking right rear through the corner down the front stretch. Now we ride into the 8-degree banking of turn number 1.
He's riding in 17th spot. That's Brad Knopfsinger right there in front of him. These guys started pretty far back in the pack, trying to move up, but so far not having a whole lot of success. That's the left front tire.
That's brakes, I think.
Braking smoke. He's braking and he's smoking the left front tire as he does that. So
we talked about Gurney not being in this ride before tonight. Well, the ride he had is directly behind him, the 14 car, and that is Davey Hamilton.
There he goes, right around the outside. Snyder moved down on the racetrack. Snyder likes to run this racetrack lower than most guys, but a lot of times it just leaves a lot of room around the top, and a guy like Gurney's going to take advantage of it, which he did right there.
There's that 14 car. That is the Fred Ead Racing team. In fact, this is the team that Jeff Gordon won the Silver Crown title for in 1991, handled this evening by Davey Hamilton.
Right, and on back behind him is Rocky Hodges. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 guys, that bright orange car back there running in 5th. I'm sorry, 6th is Rocky Hodges.
Now 5th is Jimmy Sills in the Mopar, number 75, Gary Stanton mobile. Back up at the front of the pack, it looks like the guy from Livermore, California, Chuck Gurney, wants the lead. A pair of West Coast drivers now battling for the lead. He smokes a right rear coming off the corner, trying to stay on the inside.
He's down under him. The question is, can he hang on? And he can't. The gas man's in the groove. The gas man's running pretty quick in that 53 car. Gurney is running a little bit faster, but hasn't found a way to get around yet.
Gurney right now is in second in point standings, only 61 points behind Jack Hewitt, with a bunch of dirt car races coming up in Springfield, Illinois, and they get the United States Fairgrounds over Labor Day and the Des Moines Fairgrounds on Labor Day proper. And of course, Gurney always goes well in the dirt.
Well, Chuck does go well. He goes well everywhere, really. He's a pretty good racer. He's been doing this a long time. As we take a look, man, oh man, Snyder's really hanging these guys out back there. He's slowing them up just a little bit, but they don't seem to be able to get around. Hamilton tries him on the bottom. He tries him on the top. Can't get around him anywhere. And Jimmy Sills right behind can't figure out what to do either.
There's a lot of savvy right there. George Snyder, the 1971 Silver Crown titleist, and there goes two-time titleist, your defending champion, Jimmy Sills, goes by 2 drivers in a matter of 1 straightaway, and a new leader. Something has happened to Richard Griffin. He heads down to the inside of the front straightaway, and that gives the lead to Chuck Gurney.
Man, he broke something. Gurney was lucky to miss that. He got down out of the way, but Gurney was lucky he missed him. He was running very, very close to it when that happened. Now then, Gurney has quite a good lead. That's tough luck for the gas man, Richard Griffin. Gurney has a pretty sizable lead right now.
Almost a straightaway.
Over Jimmy Sills. And look at this gaggle of cars led by Rocky Hodges and Jesse's Family Market car. It's a brand new sponsor for that race car. Jack Runyon right behind him.
And it looks like George Snyder is beginning to fall back in the Skoll 11 car. There's Knopfsinger in the 94. He's headed for the pit area. There's action all over this racetrack, but right now George Snyder is not going in the direction he would like to be going.
No, George Snyder's just been passed again. I think that's Randy Goldsman just went around him. And that's Tice Carlson in the 17 car right behind him right now.
The final transfer position, the black 29 of Bentley Warren. So right now, Bentley is 10th, George is 9th, and George is going to drop to 10th position, and he's going to drop behind Gary Urban to 11th, and George Snyder will not make his 112 start.
Gary Urban in that 48 car amazes me. He only runs about twice a year. This is only the second time all year he runs. He comes out and he's always very, very competitive in that race car as Snyder continues to go backwards. He must have some sort of a tire problem because that thing really fell off quickly.
Right now, Gary Urban. There is a look at the number 90 car. A quick glance of Kenny Hamilton, a boy's eye. Oh, no, you just talked about Gary, and Gary Urban plants it in the fence. Gary Urban, as you indicated, only comes out and runs 2 or 3 times a year, likes the pavement, goes well on the pavement, but tonight his ride ends up against the concrete wall. So we have 12 laps complete as we ride under yellow here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. That would put George Snyder back into a transfer position. Stay with us. We'll come back and finish this race. There's a look at Gary Irvin collecting his thoughts on the pit wall. He is okay, but Larry, let's take a look at what put him in the fence. He had that transfer spot. He was running 10th, and now watch that last white car.
He just went into 3 very hard, very low. He got just a little bit loose right there as he tried to pass that car. The front end headed up, and he couldn't get it turned back. Hit it very hard with the right front of the car. Here we see it again. He's very low on the racetrack, clear down on the flat. And when he got down there, the back end just started coming around a little bit. He caught that. He was going to save it, but it whipped around too far, headed up for the fence, and he couldn't get it turned back, and it just hit the fence very, very hard. Tore that race car up. Feel sorry for him and that whole crew. I know they worked very hard on that race car for the last couple of weeks.
Once again, the top 10 transfer. Chuck Gurney leads it over Jimmy Sills, Davey Hamilton, Rocky Hodges, Jack Runyon running on the top 5. Then it's Michener, Tolsma, Carlson, Warren, and Snyder. 12 laps complete. We'll come back and finish it.
Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, quick update on the early leader of the race, Richard the Gas Man Griffin. He was doing fine in his Silver Crown True Value car here. He was standing on the gas. Unfortunately, the ignition went away, and that's why he was lost the lead there and pulled off the racetrack. And now I guess the big story is probably George Snyder, guys, back there at the tail end of the transfer positions. He's running 10th. He gonna be able to hang on to it? Gary and Larry.
Didn't look too promising before that yellow. He was having some difficulty, and there is a look at the Skoll entry of George Snyder, the winner here in the champion in 1971. He's yet to win a race here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, but George has to hang on. He has the number 85 of Ray Evans right behind him, and right behind Evans, I think, is Jimmy Brewer. There is the green flag. We have 8 laps to go in this second K&K Insurance qualifier, and once again, your leader on the break is the 9 Petro car of Chuck Gurney. But right there is Jimmy Sills. Gurney, a former champion. Sills, a 2-time True Value Silver Crown titleist.
And Rocky Hodges is now in 3rd spot in that orange-colored car. These two guys pulled away a little bit, but Rocky Hodges was 4th. He's moved up to 3rd in that Jesse Supermarket car, and he's another guy that does not run a whole lot of pavement. A lot of dirt, not a whole lot of pavement, but he went right on around Davey Hamilton on that restart. That's Jack Runyon in the 7 car, also in a transfer spot. So a lot of these guys hanging on to the top 10 positions, everybody battling for them.
Once again, Rocky Hodges 6th in the point standings. The insurance 3rd right there. That's a car that's very easy to see on a dirt track when it gets dusty at night. Right behind him is Davey Hamilton. Once again, we said his dad, Kenny Hamilton, is also in this event. Jack Runyon, the black number 7. Black regular, the regular in the midget division, as well as the Silver Crown cars. There is 3rd, 4th, and 5th in turn 4. Now 15 laps complete, 5 laps to go.
Bill O'Connor is the owner of that car that Rocky Hodges runs. That race car, he's never won a race with that car. He's had it for several years now. But Rocky Hodges has been the best thing that's come along for him. He and Kenny done a great, great job with that car. But look at the 14 car. Dogging him. Hamilton's really after him.
That was a quick shot of George Snyder. He is not being challenged for that 10th and final transfer spot, so he may well make his 112th Silver Crown start since this season, 1971 season, when this first became a series under the USAC banner.
Well, probably after the yellow flag, his tires cooled down a little bit. It's helping him get through this race. I'm sure he'll make some changes. Real battle right now is Davey Hamilton under Rocky Hodges. Hodges hanging on. Hamilton wants that spot back. I think Davey's a little mad at himself that he let Rocky snooker him a little bit on that restart. He'd like to, you know, every spot you gain in this race is just one less spot you have to gain.
You gain a row starting
position. That's exactly right. You actually gain 2 spots for every guy that you pass because you start up another row farther up.
So now the 18 laps complete, 2 laps to go. This is really the only challenge on the racetrack right now, and that is for 3rd position. Of course, you talked about the owner of car number 50, one of your old sprint car owners.
Well, exactly. That's the reason I know so much about it. They owned the old Aviator race car. He used to be a U.S. Air pilot, and of course, now he owns a dirt car.
There's the white flag. 1 lap to go. The battle continues for 3rd. Ziggy once again smoking the right rear, but hanging on for that 10th and final transfer spot. Checkered flag about to come out for Chuck Gurney. He will take the victory in our 2nd qualifier. There's the checkered flag. Sills will go 2nd, and Rocky hangs on for 3rd. The battle for the transfer spot, and look at that on the last lap. Jimmy Brewer, I think it's Jimmy Brewer in the 64 car. Yes, smoking the right rear as he comes off the corner. Snyder lost that transfer spot on the last lap. So there's a look at Chuck Gurney as he drives the Petro Shopping Center's car back to the pit area. What a tough break for George Snyder. He loses the transfer spot on the very last lap. So now we have the top 5. Gurney, Sills, Hodges, Hamilton, and Runyon. A 60-lapper is coming up.
Hey, the Thunderheads have gathered. A bunch of them like Tony Stewart here. Of course, he's kind of a hometown favorite. Chuck Gurney and Jimmy Sills lead the West Coast charge in the second heat race. Gurney wins it over Sills. Hodges, Hamilton, and Runyon rounding out your top 5. The rest of the qualifying positions go to Michener, Tolles, McCarlson, Warren, and Brewer. Snyder loses a transfer on the last lap. Chuck Gurney, congratulations. You got the KK trophy, and you look like you're in pretty good shape for the main event.
Yeah, we didn't get but one hot lap group. We were waiting for the next session. We missed it, so we only got one hot lap, and it put us behind qualifying. And the car's a little tight right now, so I was able to run the high groove. When they slipped, I was able to get by. The car's pretty comfortable. We're just going to run it now. We could unhook the car a little bit.
And that'll help you in the main event. 60 laps, not 100 like we used to run here. We were just talking to Eric Gordon about the distance and the strategy. You don't have a lot of time to fool around. You kind of got to get to the front in a hurry. What is the strategy for 60 laps for Chuck Gurney?
Well, you got to run hard to catch the guys up front, and you got to save your tires. It's not that you got to save them. You got to have some tire left at the end of the race, because if you hurt them early, it's the last laps that count. So, you know, we're on Goodyears. We're just hoping that's a good tire choice today.
Okay, man, go get him. He's been second. He's been third in this series. He's looking for his first win of the year here this evening. Let's catch up on some of the West Coast sprint car action before we go to the commercial break. The Thunderheads are ready for Silver Crown. We're going to the SCRA on the West Coast.
The SCRA sprint cars were at Santa Maria Speedway in California Saturday. John Harshbarger kicked off a night of hard crashes in qualifying when his car hit the third turn wall head-on. Harshbarger was temporarily knocked unconscious before he walked away from the incident uninjured. In the passing Masters Dash, Richard Harvey bicycled and then nearly flipped over the turn 1 catch fence. Afterwards, Harvey complained of dizziness, perhaps from the high altitude he reached. From another angle, you can see the tail tank of Harvey's car flying out of the park. It landed on an unlucky spectator's vehicle in the parking lot. 18-year-old J.J. Yaley, who is looking for his first career SCRA win, started on the pole for the 30-lap feature and took the early lead. Yaley held the lead until the final lap when the second-place car of Corey Kruzman touched Yaley's rear end. Kruzman then shot underneath Yaley for the lead. As Yaley slowed, the third-place car of Dean Thompson hit and then nearly flipped over Yaley, bringing out the red flag. Thompson, who was also knocked unconscious for a brief period, escaped injury. On the one-lap shootout, Kruzman beat Leland McSpadden to the line to pick up his 5th win of the season and 3rd straight at Santa Maria.
And now let's update that series as they ran last night at Cottage Grove in Oregon. Ricky Gaunt comes home a winner in that one over Yaley. Ostling, McSpadden, and Schumann rounding out your top 5. Wild action out there for the SCRA. Hey, we've got the field set for 60 laps of Silver Crown action here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. They're going to be turning these cars around in a hurry and dropping that green flag. We'll be right back with more on Thunder. You know this guy? Huh? Yeah, you bet you do. Jeff Gordon, the defending race champion, has been quickest in the first round of practice. Now, if you're watching our tape-delayed show on Thursday, of course, the pole will have already been set. But if you're checking our live show on Wednesday night, here's how they ran through the first practice section. How about Rusty Wallace, second fastest behind Gordon? Bill Elliott with a good run. What did he finish here? 3rd last year, I believe. Rick Mast was last year's somewhat surprising pole sitter. And Greg Sachs jumps back in a one-race ride. He's in that 32 car, replacing Chuck Bound. Bobby Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Joe Nemechek, John Andretti, and Terry Labonte rounding out your top 10 in the Wednesday speeds. Now, you will see pole qualifying on ESPN. If you're watching our Wednesday show, that's at 3 o'clock Eastern time, noon on the West Coast. And if you're watching our Thursday show, it's already over, and you're getting ready for the trucks. It's a little confusing, isn't it? We brought you Thunder on a lot of different nights. I don't believe we've ever brought you the same Thunder show on 2 different nights of the week. But hey, we're innovators here at ESPN. We're trying to stay on top of this Brickyard week, and it is a big one. Now, of course, we have a couple of, sentimental favorites, I guess, from the open wheel division in terms of the race this weekend. A couple of graduates of our Thunder series who have gone on to Winston Cup fame and glory, and we're going to be following, of course, Jeff Gordon. He is a former champion of this division. Does that boy look serious? or does that boy look serious? He won the championship in this division as his last title, 1991, before he went off to conquer the stock car championship world. That is the look of a determined young man. And prior to that, way back in, what was it, 1982, I believe, if memory serves, Kenny Schrader was the Silver Crown champion. He's won this race, the 100-lapper at IRP, twice back when it was a 100-lapper. It's 60 now. We'll be pulling for those two teammates as they go to work this weekend. Jeff Gordon, your 91 Silver Crown champ. Kenny Schrader, the two-time Silver Crown champion of this, a two-time winner of this race and the former Silver Crown Series champion. So we're having a good time out here. Do I have time to talk to this guy? Oh, cool. We talked about Jeff Gordon. This is the guy that a lot of people think makes Jeff Gordon tick. This is Ray Evernham, the crew chief. Thanks for coming out. You know about this open wheel stuff. You used to drive open wheel cars, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. My roots are here, and I really love it. It's exciting to come out here and see these cars. You know, we're Thunderheads. We watch every Thursday night, Saturday night, whenever it's on, and, boy, you can't appreciate the speed until you get out here in person. Obviously, you must have things pretty well shaped up over at the big track. You're not over there working on the car. He was fastest in the first round of practice. It was such an incredible storybook win here a year ago. Now we come back, the hype's kind of settled down. It's not just another race because it's $3.5 million in Winston Cup points, but the second time through, are you guys approaching it differently, and are you confident that you can win it on Saturday? Well, we're not approaching it any differently. You know, that'd be impossible. We really put a hard effort into it last year, and we did again this year. I feel like we've got a good shot at it. You know, there's no way of really telling, but we've got a good car. We brought his favorite car. It's the car he won Atlanta and Rockingham with, and he ran real good today. But Saturday is going to tell. Right now, there's some pretty tough competitors out there. Rusty looks real tough. We'll just have to wait and see. But we've got Jeff Gordon, and that kind of gives us the edge. Okay, man, we appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy the show here tonight. That's Ray Evernham, crew chief on that number 24 car that Jeff Gordon will be driving on Saturday. We're going to take a quick break here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Got those Silver Crown cars lining up for that 60-lap feature. We'll be right back.
Thunder on ESPN Speed World from Indianapolis Raceway Park with the USAC True Value Silver Crown cars. We are getting ready for the 60-lapper in our Yellow Cab 100. Coming events on the Silver Crown Series, we go back to the dirt tracks, the mile dirts at the Illinois State Fairgrounds on the 19th of August. Then, of course, on Saturday of Labor Day weekend back here in Indiana at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Then on Labor Day proper, the Du Quoin State Fairgrounds. And then we move to some shorter tracks in Rossburg, Ohio. We go to the Eldora Speedway on September 22nd and 23rd for the Four Crown Nationals in Sacramento, California to wrap up the event. And, of course, there's a guy who did not make the feature this evening. That is George Snyder, the 1971 Silver Crown titleist. Lost the 10th and final transfer spot on the very last lap of that second K&K qualifier. A great crowd on hand, a lot of Thunderheads here. And, of course, if you've just joined us, we will tell you that the first 20-lapper was won by Eric Gordon, and the second was won by Chuck Gurney.
Yeah, and, you know, and up in the front of this race is going to be some very interesting racing. We're going to have Jack Hewitt, Mike Bliss, Jim Keeker, and Tony Stewart. The first three guys, Keeker, Stewart, and Bliss, all are very smooth, polished pavement racers. Jack Hewitt is a little bit rougher, but it's going to be interesting to watch the style of these guys. How about it, Dave? You got Rusty down there with you?
I sure do. We just missed start your engines, but this isn't a bad trade. We got Rusty Wallace instead. Obviously, second fastest in Wednesday practice. You got to be pretty jazzed about the way things are going over at the Brickyard.
Well, I feel real good about it. Our second half of the season, I think, is really going to be good. We've worked real hard on the rules. We had a great 3-day test session here at Indy. Everything's paid off for us so far. We unloaded today. We have 2 laps on the track. And we ran 1 qualifying lap the first time since we hit the track. And then we ran a second one on the same tires. And the car's running quick. So I told the guys we just got to stay focused and see what we can do on tomorrow afternoon.
You've obviously had some tough luck to put behind you this year, but I guess to come to the Brickyard at this point in the season when you feel like you got some momentum going your way, $3.5 million race and everything that it means to win here, you're going to feel pretty good about coming here this time of the year.
Well, I really do. It's basically because it's the second half. This is a real big race. I mean, a lot of money. And my team told me, so Rusty, this is your part. I mean, you got here, you got Michigan, you got Bristol, you got Watkins Glen, all your good tracks. I think it's going to be a rusty month. I said, well, I hope you're right.
Are you a Thunderhead? Are you a closet Thunderhead? You like this stuff?
I tell you what, I've got more laps around this place than most of these cats. I love this racetrack. I mean, I'm sitting here watching old George Snyder and all these guys running this place. And Kenny Irwin used to work for me. That kid, used to work on my Bush team. So I'm having a good time watching these guys run and having a great time at it.
Okay, champ, thanks for coming by. That's Rusty Wallace, and he's looking forward to the Brickyard 400. We've got the motors fired. We're going to pay a couple of bills and come back and drop that green flag. We will go racing at IRP right after this. The USAC True Value Silver Crown cars on ESPN until 1952. These were the cars that raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They actually raced beyond that. That was the last year they won the race. And in the midst of all the politics in IndyCar racing going on right now, I had a fun thought when I walked into this place today. You know what would be neat? Next year, maybe for 1 year only, it's a weird idea, but it sure would be fun. Let's line up 33 of these cars for the Indy 500. Hey, there'd be no shortage of cars. We got, what, 45 of them here tonight. And all the existing teams could certainly build one for the price of their food budget over at the big track for the month of May. You can build one of these things for 50 grand, and they don't come from England. Power plants, no problem. Chevrolet V8s will work very nicely. Thank you very much. And drivers, we'd have a ton of drivers. Everybody who drives an Indy car now could learn how to operate one of these things. All these guys that come for sure. They run for a whole month over there during the month of May, so all the present guys could get up to speed, and the car owners could run auditions for every young hot shoe in America who'd love to race at Indianapolis. I think it'd be terrific fun at the end of a couple of weeks of practice, run qualifying, forget that seeding the 500, take the fastest 33 guys. I'd love to see if Al Unser Jr. is faster than Mike Bliss in one of these cars. In fact, we might even find out if Al Jr. is faster than Al Sr. I'll bet a bunch of old guys that come out of the woods to do this. I think it'd be terrific fun. It's a wild, harebrained idea, I'll admit that, but then again, maybe it's not so wild and harebrained after all. Now, don't assume from that I'm one of those guys who wants to stop the clock and back it up 40 years. I love the technology. We get that from CART. We'll get that from IRL. I love the speed. They'll still go 230 at Michigan. And I'm not one of those people who knocks the present state of IndyCar racing, because that finish last Sunday at Michigan was absolutely terrific. It's just a wild idea, but wouldn't it be fun? And you know what? I'd buy a ticket to sit in turn one just to hear the first lap with 33 of these guys. We're about to see the first lap here tonight. We're ready to go. Gary and Larry, topside. Let's race.
Hey, no ground effects on these babies. No wings. Let's go racing. Front row, Keeker and Stewart. Second row, Mike Bliss and Jack Hewitt. Then it's Eric Gordon and Chuck Gurney in row 3. In the fourth row, Dave Darlin, Jimmy Sills. Row 5, Johnny Parsons, Rocky Hodges. The sixth row, Kenny Irwin, Davey Hamilton. Row 7, David Steele, Jack Runyon. In the eighth row, Dan Dryden and Andy Mitchner. Row 9, Gary Heber, Randy Tolsma. Row 10, Kevin Doty, Tice Carlson. Row 11, Chuck Leary, Bentley Warren. Row 12, Jimmy Kite and Jimmy Brewer. If there was a sound of excitement and urgency in my voice, it's because they get the one lap to go the last time by. We're ready to drop the green flag and go racing. 60 laps, the yellows will not count.
It looks like it's going to be a great start as Keeker jumps right away. Look at Bliss. Bliss in that V8 got a terrific start from row 2 down on the inside of Keeker, but I don't think he's going to be able to make that handle as everybody, it looks like, makes it through the first corner.
We're being told out the yellows will count in this event, so Bliss may have put some extra undue stress on that right rear, that effort to get that lead on the first
The first 3 cars are all V6 power plants as Mike Bliss runs over our camera.
Oh, you can hear the sound. Listen.
Even got sound effects.
I like it. Next time by, let's take that shot and we'll lay out and we'll listen to the cars run down over our tread cam.
And look at Stewart. He's on the bottom in the bottom yellow car. Jimmy Keeker in that top yellow car with Jack Hewitt sideways right behind him in that white 63 car.
Stewart right now, there, listen. Well, listen. Down the backstretch. Now it's Tony Stewart is now 5th in the point standings. He had hoped to have a challenge for the championship in both the midget, sprint, and Silver Crown championship this season. The leader is Jimmy Keeker.
Jimmy Keeker, just as he did at Richmond, jumped right in the lead, hangs on to it, but isn't able to pull away. Stewart's right on his tail, and Jack Hewitt right behind him.
Now the 3 V6s are right now running 1, 2, and 3. A couple of Chevy V6s up in front, and third place is the Ford. Oh, what was that spark that I saw come off of Jack Hewitt's car?
There were some sparks. I don't know exactly what it was. Right there, the 50 car, Rocky Hodges running back there, Tice Carlson in the 17 car, and on back farther, Chuck Cleary in that 30 car.
I'd like to see about a 300-lap race with these cars, so we'd see at least 2 pit stops.
It'd be interesting to watch pit stops for these race cars, no question about it.
Now, we talked earlier in the program about alluding to the difference between a sprint car and a Silver Crown car?
Well, of course, a Silver Crown car is 10 inches longer in wheelbase. They're about a couple hundred pounds heavier. They actually have smaller engines than a sprint car. The reason being, they usually run 100-mile races, so they have bigger than a 350 cubic inch engine. Most sprint cars have 410s, then they can't go the 100 miles without a pit stop. So they've kept the engine size down to 350. These V6s we're running out front right now are less than 300. I think they're 297 cubic inches. So the V6s have less cubic inches. They're allowed 75 pounds less weight to compensate for the 50 cubic inches less.
So Keeker in the Gene Nolan V6 is out in front, and Tony Stewart in the Clint Heibel V6 rides in second. Jack Hewitt, who leads the point standings and has had an incredible run so far this season, is back there in third. In fact, last weekend, Jack Hewitt won 2 back-to-back sprint car races on Saturday and Sunday. Of course, in the last 2 outings in Silver Crown competition, he won at Richmond on June the 17th and then finished second at the Terre Haute Action Track on the 7th of July.
That's Parsons. That's Hamilton trying to get around Parsons. Hamilton in the 14 car, Parsons in the 37 car. Hamilton trying to get around him. Can't quite do it yet.
That's the battle for 10th position. Johnny Parsons, who won that USAC School National Midget Race 1 week ago, is now in 10th. And Davey Hamilton works in the 11th position.
Rocky Hodges.
Rocky Hodges, yes, is slowing down on the front straightaway.
Look at this. Hamilton on the inside trying to get around Parsons. Just not fast enough on the bottom groove. The bottom groove is not usually the fastest place here, and he's proven right now that he just can't quite pull it off up there right in that spot.
Parsons, of course, has driven this car in the past. In fact, AJ owned this number 37 car for about 1 race.
And
I think he bought the car with the idea of driving, decided not to, and he sold it.
Tony Stewart made a bid for to get around Jimmy Keeker going into 3. Couldn't quite pull it up. It looks like Keeker's getting off the corner a little bit better, but he cannot make the pass right yet. Look at him set him up. Real high in the middle of the corner, tries to come out low to get a shot on him. Right here, he's going to give him another shot. Not quite far enough.
Well, I think it's tradition that on these particular races, we have the 2-time USAC midget champion in the broadcast booth with us. We say hi to Stevie Reeves, who is in town, actually back in town for the BGN race, sponsored by Kroger on Friday evening. And you also mentioned that you've driven that number 37 car on occasion.
Yeah, when A.J. Foyt bought that car, actually I drove it for him that one race, and when they sold the car to Clermont, I was kind of a package deal. I think I went with it.
Well, now let's take a ride with Jack Hewitt. We told you, I think, that he has an on-car camera, sponsored by CarQuest, as we look back at Mike Bliss. Now, Mike Bliss in a V8-powered car has won the last 2 outings here. Right now, he may be at a disadvantage as far as the tire wear to those V6s.
Well, he could be, but he's still running very good. We see some more sparks coming out of Jack Hewitt's car. We've looked at those several different times as Kevin Doty slows down the main straightaway. He's just about going to pull in the pits, it looks like. He's slowed way, way down.
Battle for 13th position, and look at that 13th is Tice Carlson. As once again we go back to the 3rd place car, and you can see some slipping and sliding there in the part of Bliss. It looks like he's trying to turn down low to get under Hewitt.
The leaders are now in traffic. They're getting around some lap cars. Keeker has made it through. Stewart is in second, still right on his tail. Hasn't given an inch to him. Just kind of biding his time. As somebody said earlier, Eric Gordon, I think it was, you have to save your tires. Chuck Gurney, I think it was, said you have to save your tires. That may be what he's doing.
Stevie Reeves looking at Tony Stewart riding back there in second. Is this a sign of maturity? He's letting somebody else set the pace right now, and he's just biding his time.
I think so. When you said that, when you talked about jumping in the lead and saving tires, I think that's exactly what everybody's doing right now. When you talked about the weight difference between midgets where they can go all out the whole time, they still have to save their tires, but these cars weigh so much more that I think you're going to see a lot of follow the leader right now until later in the game when they can have that good tire to go for it at the end.
Well, right there, they're tucked in behind Jimmy Brewer, about to place a lap. Oh, 2 cars involved, number 5 and number 30.
Leary and Mitchner. It's Leary and Mitchner who crashed coming off of turn 2 down on the back straightaway. It looks like everybody else has made it through that mess, but
16 laps good. That happened on the 17th lap. And we see Mitchner has climbed out, and he's walking over to check on Leary. Leary remains in the cockpit, but Mitchner was very quick to climb out of his. And here comes Chuck. Chuck out of Greenfield, Indiana. And let's see if we can take a look at what happened, Larry and Stevie Reeves.
Well, the main thing is those guys are both getting out of the race cars. It was a hard hit. You can see Leary, the whole right side of his race car looks like it's been taken away. So he hit the wall very hard with the right side of the race car. Leary's in the first black car, it looks like. No, he's in the second black car. He's getting underneath Michener. Down on the inside, he just got his right front into the left rear. Michener slammed him into the wall, almost over the wall. He got halfway out of the ballpark, rode back in. Michener hit the fence, slid back down into the thing. Leary definitely took the hardest bang of those two. As he tried to make the pass, he just got his right front into the left rear, and boy, he got way up on that wall. Look, just a little bit more of a nudge, and he'd have been on over and out of there. Very, very lucky that Leary fell back onto the racetrack and did not get upside down.
Well, and he was, as the leaders go through the melee down there, he had enough time on top of the wall to think, am I going on over or what's going to happen here?
Oh, yeah, he had plenty of time, and the leaders were very lucky. As you can see, that was either Stewart or Keeker that was way on the inside. I have to wait and see if they cut a tire. A lot of debris out there.
Well, once again, there's a look at Andy Michener, who now has the points lead in the USAC National Skull Midget Series. And he puts a baseball cap on. He is all right. And I think Dave is down there with him. And Runyon has been black flagged in the Jack's Tool rental car, the black number 7 out of Carmel, Indiana, as we watch the activity on the backstretch. And Dave doing an excellent job of catching up with those involved, Dave.
Well, I'll tell you, moments of concern when you see that kind of a hit. Good news is both guys are okay. Andy Michener, first of all, your account, how did it happen?
Well, I don't know. We were all racing for a couple positions. There was about 4 or 5 cars, and 2 of us unfortunately got together. But, unfortunately, the bad word is that's racing, and I'm glad everybody's okay. I don't know how it happened, but, I'm glad everybody was okay.
Glad to see you. All right, let me move over here and talk to Chuck Leary because, as you heard the boys say, he took the Wilder ride there. Your version of what happened?
Well, there's 4 or 5 of us there, and we're all battling for position, and I got in underneath Andy, and evidently he didn't see me, and then he decided he wanted to go down there too, and so we got together.
When you're going airborne like that, you know that wall's coming. What's going through your mind? What do you do?
Well, you just hold on to the steering wheel real tight.
Hold down, hunker down, and wait it out. You bruised, beat up at all?
Oh, maybe my side over here a little bit from the initial hit when I hit the wall head on, but other than that, I'm all right.
Okay, we're glad to see that. Chuck Leary and Andy Michener are both okay. A wild crash over here at turn 2 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. That slows things down for a moment, gives us an opportunity to get in a quick break. We'll be back with more of this wild Silver Crown action right after this.
In-car cameras provided by CarQuest Auto Parts. For your nearest CarQuest Auto Parts store, call 1-800-492-PARTS. And also our scan lift tonight being provided by Wheezy Engineering. And that, of course, makes all this in-car camera business possible here for you Thunderheads to enjoy shots like this from the car running in 3rd position. That is Jack Hewitt. Looking back in 4th place, Mike Bliss. And we have been given the 1 to go. And let's take a look at how your leader gets through this melee. Coming off the 2nd corner, Keeker dives to the inside of Jimmy Brewer. Now the accident is occurring in front of them. You can see Brewer hard on the brakes.
He's hard on the brakes, trying to miss him. Keeker is clear down in the grass. He is way, way down in the grass. Lucky he didn't cut a tire.
Stevie, you had an observation on that too.
Yeah, just give you an idea of how fast you're going in the speed. These cars have a bunch of fuel still in these cars, and as high as they got, that just tells you how much force they had when they got to the wall there. He just about went over tail first, and that's the heaviest part of the car right now.
Dryden, apparently, Dan Dryden was the only driver to come in and change a tire. We know that Jack Runyon was black flagged for bottoming out, but after a consultation, he was returned to the racetrack in his position. And so now we have 16 laps. Once again, the yellows do not count. So we're going back racing in the start of lap number 17. And look at this start on the restart. A great start for Hewitt. Hewitt gets on by Stewart. Stewart was almost napping on that restart.
Boy, he must have been. He got right down underneath him. And look at this, a big run on Keeker getting into 3. Let's see if he can make this stick. Very close. Boy, he almost got that right front. That's almost what we saw happen in that action a while ago. Right front into the left rear.
You know, guys, I would have to think this is a real pivotal race for Jack Hewitt. He leads the point standings. He was somewhat of a surprise winner on the pavement at Richmond. If he does well tonight, he's going into a string of dirt races coming up. This could really cement his championship season.
Well, it certainly could. Jack Hewitt looks much, much smoother tonight than he did at Richmond. He was a little wobbly out there. He was still fast, but he's very, very smooth here tonight.
But when he won the race at Richmond, he said that he wasn't known for being a pavement driver. I think he's forgot all about that since then. And he sat there and let his tire cool down on that yellow flag. And like we've said, instead of following leader, he took a shot and got up to second. Now he's going to hold his position there and take a shot to lead here pretty quick, I think.
That is the voice of Stevie Reeves, who once again joined us in the broadcast booth. He is in town for the Kroger Bush 200 coming up on Friday. You can all slide up for you on ESPN.
Let me just tell you about those sparks. As Stevie said, these cars carry about 50 gallons of fuel, which is 350 pounds. They've got the car set up very low as the lead. Look at Mike Bliss way on the outside as Stewart couldn't quite make it stick out there. But with all that weight and the car set so low, the car does bottom out, and that's why the sparks are flying.
So once again, you ride with Jack Hewitt, who is now in second position. Tony Stewart back there in third. Mike Bliss is fourth, and Mike again looks to the high side as Tony looks to the low side of Hewitt.
Stewart's trying very hard to make a move down on the bottom. So far, he hasn't been able to make anything even close to what makes what's going to be a pass. But he has gotten down there and tried very hard to make that car stick. There he is again. This time he does stick. He stuck very well. Now that he's got a shot at getting by and getting to the three.
Yeah, but he can't make it stick, and he almost gets together with Bliss. The yellow car back there in fifth is Chuck Gurney, who won the second K&K qualifier this evening. So the top five run right together. Again, you ride with Hewitt looking back at the battle for that second position. A battle and a wreck on the front straightaway. Randy Tolsma involved in a crash along the front straightaway. The Spies Hecker car, number 61, Tolsma, who finished third in the point standings last year, came in contact with another car, had some right front suspension damage. He got in contact with Gary Heber's number 66. And so that brings out the yellow. And we have 21 laps now complete. Tolsma's okay, but obviously very, very unhappy because he had settled into what was going to be a good ride this evening for him in the Gary Howard number 61. So the Red Line Oil Special is out of the race, and he climbs out. Tolsma's all right. Once again, 21 laps are now complete as Speed World comes to you from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Speed World coverage of the Sound of Thunder has been brought to you by Firestone Retailers. Come in now during the hot summer sale.
The green has just come out again after that yellow on lap 21. So this is lap 22 we're working right now. And look at Hewitt looking to the high side. Not exactly the place to pass.
No, but he just made a big dive to the bottom and couldn't make a pass down there either. He's really trying to set up Gurney on the inside. Gurney has pulled down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Gurney slowing down one lap after the restart, and he is headed for the infield and the pit area. He was riding in fifth position on that restart. A lot of smoke right there, and you can almost see some rubber being kicked up from the marbles. And look at Tony lift that left front tire. He looks to the inside again. The first four are right together on the racetrack. Would you like to be out there, Stevie?
Oh, I'd love to right now. The way they're running side by side, that's playing right into Mike Bliss's favor right there, because he's sitting back there with the V8 saving his tire. Jack Hewitt
is falling off the pace. Jack Hewitt is headed for the pit area. Oh my, we just talked about what a pivotal race this could be for Hewitt in the championship chase. And indeed, this is not exactly what he had in mind as Gurney pulls in the pit area and Jack Hewitt is slowly rolling down the front stretch.
Two of the top five guys, all five of those guys run a nose to tail the whole race. Two of them fall out on exactly the same lap. How unusual.
So Jim Keeker now maintains the lead, about a 4-car length advantage, and another car is slowing down the front stretch. Jimmy Sills in the Gary Stanton Power entry. He was running in fourth position, and now he is falling off the pace.
We need to give a tip of the hat to Jim Keeker. He hasn't been running a whole lot in the last year or two, so that's pretty impressive to jump in the car and sit up there towards the front there at Richmond and come right back here and be leading the race right off the bat.
He goes by Heber to put Gary Heber a lap down. We'll give a tip of the hat to Kenny Irwin, too. He started 11th. He's now up to 4th. And Dave, I think you caught up with Jack Hewitt.
Jack Hewitt is in the process of pulling his helmet off. Last time on TV, he was the big hero from last in the last chance race to victory lane in Richmond. Tonight, the point leader comes up short. Jack, what happened?
Excuse me.
He can't hear me. What happened to the car?
I don't know. I just felt something dragging down, going down the back straightaway, and instead of staying out there until it breaks and getting somebody else in trouble, we just kind of pulled her in.
I think it'd been sparking off the right rear a lot. Was that just a fuel load, or do you think that might have been connected to what went wrong?
No, I think that was the fuel load. You know, I could feel it coming out of the floor bottom and out, but what can I say? Our DuPont Ford, it was going good, and you know, with Mr. Hunt and Barfield and 6R Racing, we've just got a good deal, and we start the dirt series. Now we got 5 in a row.
Going back to the dirt, watch out for this guy, Jack Hewitt, the point leader. Gary and Larry.
Well, Stevie Reeves, I have to ask, you talked about that battling might play into the hands of Mike Bliss. Bliss looks like he's lost several car lengths now as they go down the backstretch, about a half straightaway back in 3rd position.
I'm really surprised that Tony Stewart's able to keep the car on the bottom as long as he have and still be chasing down Jim Keeker right now. And we've kind of been, we've been watching the leaders up front. Kenny Oren snuck up. He's running 4th right now from 11th.
30 laps in, 30 laps to go. And of course, Irwin has another 6-banger. So we have 3 6s and 1 8-banger in the top 4 positions.
Yeah, Tony Stewart is looking stronger and stronger all the time. He's really going well. Looks like Keeker's getting into the corners a little better, but Stewart is getting through the corner and off a little better. He really looks strong right at this point of the race.
Tony Stewart leads the USAC Loctite Sprint Car division right now. He's the defending national midget champion. Right now is 5th in the point standings, but this would certainly elevate his championship efforts if he can pull off a victory here.
Yeah, just as we say that, all of a sudden Keeker seems to have found a little second breath there. Now he's pulled out to a couple of car lengths lead over Tony Stewart. As both of these cars, of course, Glenn Nivel, the mechanic on Tony Stewart's car, and Gene Nolan owns that other car. And originally, Gene Nivel worked for that team too. So that team, both those teams, very, very well versed in what's going on with these 6-cylinder cars.
Dave, can you give us an update on Chuck Gurney?
Gurney climbed down. I asked him what was wrong. He said it started getting hot, then it started vibrating, and I shut it off before we blew the motor.
Pretty good sign of a major problem.
Well, and that's smart by a race car driver. There's no sense staying out there costing your car owner a whole lot of money when you know the problem's going to be terminal sooner or later. Both of those guys, even though I know they hated to do it, did the smart thing. They're going to be able to rebuild their engines, come back strong at a future date without costing their car owners a ton of money.
All right, in the booth with me, I have a 2-time sprint car, 2-time midget champion in Stevie Reeves and a 3-time champion in Larry Rice. I got to ask you guys, you know, you should take a look at Irwin right there, tucked up behind Bliss. Is Stewart playing with him right now? Does Stewart have more than he's showing?
It looks to me like Keeker's dropped his line down a little bit. That might have something to do with the fuel line or fuel running down, or it might have something to do with the radios that they have in the pits now. They didn't have those when I was running the Silver Crown cars, so he might just be blocking the racetrack a little bit, trying to run a straight conservative line there.
Irwin is about to pass for 3rd spot. Kenny Irwin takes 3rd from Bliss. So now we have 3 V6s running 1, 2, and 3. Irwin qualified 5th quick, but had to go through a qualifier, starting 11th, and now he's up to 3rd.
And he's done a very good job from starting 11th, getting up to 3rd position. He made that pass on Bliss look pretty easy, but it was not an easy pass. Passing right through the middle of the corner, and that's the hardest place to get around somebody.
Back now as we watch the leaders, a pair of yellow V6s. Jim Keeker with about a 2-car length advantage over Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart looks like now he's kind of biding his time. He's tried to get up there and battle it. Now, right now, Kenny Irwin is the guy right there that you see who's really got his work cut out for him. He's got about a half a straightaway to go to catch these guys, and he appears to be maybe the fastest race car on the racetrack at this point.
But I have to ask you two, he started 11th. He had to battle through traffic. That abuses the right rear. Now he has to really abuse the car to close down the gap. I would think that Kenny Irwin could really use a yellow right now, cool off that right rear, and have a shot at these two guys.
He's running really good. He's pulled away from Mike Bliss. This 2.5 laps ago when he's passed him. He's already pulled out about a half a straightaway on Mike. So we're back up to the front here. And I'll tell you what, Keeker's not getting away from him at all, and I think Kenny Irwin's the fastest car. As long as they keep running nose to tail there, they're going to burn their tires up, and he's going to be right there with about 5 laps to go, and he's going to be the man to beat.
So once again, the tire factor could come into play here in the waning laps of this race. Now completing lap 41, 19 to go. Once again, Jim Keeker has led from the start. He was your fast qualifier. Tony Stewart is up in second position.
One of the interesting things is that Kenny Irwin has on Goodyears. These first two guys have on Hoosiers, so it might be interesting to see what happens there. As we take a look at Johnny Parsons battling back here with, can't tell who that is behind him, but
Dan Drynan.
Dan Drynan, exactly.
That is 9th, 10th, and 11th on the racetrack. That is Parsons in 37, Drynan, and then the 29 car of Bentley Warren.
Of course, Bentley, that car that Bentley Warren is driving is a car that Kenny Schrader won with out here a couple of times.
He's won twice at this racetrack with that car. Kenny's won 6 times in that black 29 car for Boston Louis Seymour.
I believe Bentley Warren, didn't he win the race here in the Super Modifieds?
He won the Super Modified race back in May, won the night before the 500 sprint car race. He took about, what, 40-some thousand bucks out of Indiana, took it back home to Kennebunkport.
Kennebunkport, Maine. Him and George Bush spent all that money already.
Does he go out and play golf with George?
I don't know. I would if I could, I guess.
Not the way you play golf. George wouldn't want to play with you.
True.
He'd make you drive the golf cart.
I'd have to play with Gerald Ford because we can hit everybody into place.
That's right. Take out liability insurance when you play golf.
It looks to me like Jimmy Keeker's got some problems. He's starting to slide around a little bit. That right rear, the race car looks looser and looser all the time. And I think Tony Stewart's pretty much got the measure of it right now. He just doesn't want to use his tire up trying to make a pass. I think he knows he's faster. He's just sitting there waiting for the right time, waiting for him to make a bad enough mistake that he can make that pass easily and not use up his tire. There he goes.
Another comparison between sprints and the Silver Crown cars. These cars, many of them carry onboard radio, so the crew can actually tell a driver how close his nearest competition might be. I don't know if Stewart has a radio in the car that they can tell him that he has no one back there contending for his position.
Well, if they do have him, they better tell him that he's going to have somebody pretty darn quick, because Kenny Stewart is Kenny Irwin. I mean, he's catching them pretty darn fast. He's been gaining on him lap after lap after lap, and like I said, he has on Goodyears. These first two guys have on Firestones. It's going to be interesting to see how the tire war plays out in this scenario.
Well, of course, they have traffic out in front, so traffic could play a role. If these guys that are leading, Keeker and Stewart, have trouble getting through traffic, that will enable Irwin to close in even more.
It looks like Keeker's starting to loosen up a little bit right now, and as straight as Stewart's been running, if they've been on the radio telling him nobody's behind him, that really plays in his favor. That's something we didn't have the, talking to us on the radio. We never knew who was behind us, and we couldn't make a line change or something, so we didn't know if a guy was going to try us on the outside. So he's right there. He knows nobody's behind him, so he's able to just let Keeker wear his tires out. He'll be here a factor in traffic.
This time, past the start-finish line, we'll have 10 laps remaining.
10 laps remaining, and now then, one time I thought Kenny Stewart wanted a yellow. Now then, I'm not Kenny Irwin. Kenny Irwin wanted a yellow. I don't think
he doesn't need a yellow now.
He doesn't need it now. He's just about caught them. He gets through these lap cars. It will only take him a couple of laps to catch these guys.
The only thing a yellow would do would cool off that right rear tire that perhaps he's abused catching these guys.
Right, but I don't think he wants that. I think the two guys up front have more of a problem with their right rears right now than does Irwin. So these guys are both slipping and sliding a little more than he is. So I think he figures if they keep running under the green, he's got enough time to catch them and get by them.
He's only going to have 9 laps when they come by, 8 laps when they come by this time. And indeed, he is closing in, but he has to get back Dan Drynan. Drynan slips a bit coming off the corner. He makes the pass. As we go back and show you the first two, Keeker and Stewart were the fastest 2 qualifiers.
Keeker and Stewart are still very, very fast. Don't get me wrong. Those guys are running really quick. Those first 3 cars have pulled away to a good lead over everybody else, including Mike Lewis, who's about a straight way behind. But look at this. Stewart's going to decided not to.
They're trying to block him in, trapping behind Parsons. Oh, that may have been a bad move on the part of Stewart. Stewart went high, Keeker went low, but look at Irwin closing in on the backstretch as they go by Johnny Parsons, who has been riding in 9th position. So now only what? The top 8 are on the lead lap, and there is Kenny Irwin. They complete lap 54. 6 laps to go. Here comes Irwin. He has the leaders in view.
And there he goes, right on around. He's caught them. He's within about 4 or 5 car lengths now. Parsons slowed him up a little bit. He cost him 4 or 5 car lengths by getting behind Parsons. But boy, he's reeling them in pretty quick.
This is the Wynn-sponsored car, which is owned by Dave Calderwood out of Bakersfield, California. Another V6, and they're running over your head.
Kenny Irwin's right there right now with 5 to go, just like we talked about earlier. He's been, running his own line, and while they're up there trying to battle, testing each other, seeing what each other's going to do, he's right there, and he's got momentum going right now.
He doesn't have room on the high side to get by Stewart. He's going to have to get down low to get by David Steele.
David Steele right in the middle of this battle as Stewart and Irwin both get by him. Now the Keeker's got a little bit of an edge. He gained that edge in the traffic, so he was 4 laps to go. Now seems to have a little bit of a cushion right there.
We had a great 2-car shootout for the win last year. We're going to have a 3-car shootout this year. 57 laps now complete. And right in that skirmish, the last lap, Keeker picked up about 2 or 3 car lengths. He's been able to maintain that now as he works off the second corner down the backstretch. Your lead, what, is about 6 to 8 car lengths now.
Look at Kenny Irwin trying to figure out a way to get around these guys. Kind of like a dog chasing the car. Now he's caught him. What's he going to do with them? I don't know. But he's going to try to figure something out here with just 2 more laps to go.
Well, if you're holding Ace back, you better show it right now. He's on the inside. They almost get together in turn 2. The white flag will be displayed, this time by Kenny's 1 lap to go.
Kenny's been getting in the corner really well. But I'll tell you what, Stewart's been coming off the corner real good. I think that's where he's been catching Keeker all this time. But I think Keeker's got a great cushion right there. I think they're going to battle for second. That's going to be the race.
You may be right. As they work down the backstretch for the last time, Keeker has led from the opening green. And it looks like Keeker is going to savor this victory here. The Yellow Cab 100, and Jimmy Keeker wins it flag to flag. Stewart hangs on for second. Irwin from 11th finishes third. So Keeker takes the victory. A good shootout with Stewart. Stewart pulls to the inside to congratulate him, and there is Irwin as he takes third position. So Jimmy Keeker wins the USAC True Value Silver Crown Yellow Cab 100. And we're going to take a quick break and come back to Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Jimmy Keeker pulls into victory lane. He won it flag to flag. That doesn't tell the story of how he was challenged by Tony Stewart and Kenny Irwin as they came to the checkered flag. I hate it when we run long, but that's the way it's gone tonight. There's your top 5. Bliss and Hamilton rounding it out. You'll have reason to watch the tape coverage of this show on Thursday night if you're with us live on ESPN2, because we will have the winner interview tomorrow night. It's all part of our big week in Indianapolis. We've got the NASCAR Super Trucks live Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock on the West Coast. And, of course, we'll be coming back out here on Friday for a special live Speed Week show at 8:30 Eastern time from Indianapolis Raceway Park, followed by the Busch Grand National action. What an incredible week it is in Indianapolis. Don't forget, our next regularly scheduled Thunder is a week from Thursday, and that will be from Winchester, Indiana. Congratulations to the winner, Jim Keeker. For Gary Lee and Larry Rice, I'm Dave Despain.